play. Well, good evening. First of all, Sarah, many thanks for joining us. I've been desperate to have you on for a long time, as with Mike Hunter, who obviously has been around for such a long time. The voice of so many videos. It's unreal, Mike. You've it's great listening to you because but one thing I said to you before is that every video I've ever heard you do, it's like totally honest. And if somebody's not doing very well, you're not afraid to say that. But when somebody's doing really well, you give them the praise. It's it's excellent what you do. And Sarah, with your column in the in the on the website, the Bandits website, I love reading all of those blogs and stuff, or whatever they're called. And Mike, I know you do a lot of writing as well, don't you?
Probably not quite as much as I used to, because I've got some help from Graham Munsey these days. But
yeah,
I've been doing video commentary for more than 40 years.
Wow.
I think I've actually mellowed in recent times, but people probably haven't noticed because they remember the old stuff.
Sarah, would you like to go first and tell us what the dickens happened this morning? Last night I was chatting with Gary Flint.
Yeah.
And
tell you what, it came as a shock. Fair play to them, though. We've obviously really missed Jai, and I think it's had a big impact on the team. Yeah. To be fair, we've still got a lot of matches to do. We've got a season worth salvaging. And actually, fair play to them. They've went out and they've pulled out a corker, I think. I mean...
Right.
Okay. I'll quote another team. There's no riders out there. Well, I think today has just proven that if you look, there is riders out there. I'm excited. Very excited.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think...
Yep, good.
Nathan Stoneman could be one to watch, I think, because his meeting with the Oxford Chargers, he was, trying every line possible, and I think he's going to be really exciting.
I think he's going to be our second Welsh rider, isn't he?
After Tom Brown, yep.
And after Tom Brown, yes. So it's interesting that we're getting this Danish rider, but thoughts on Kyle losing his place, basically as collateral damage, to the fact that we're Ty has clearly got an injury problem.
Yeah, harsh. But it's Speedway. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
Okay, from what you've seen on social media today, I think that the family are saying something different than what was released from the official side. But
sure,
I think any fan standing there could see Kyle in the championship at home and Kyle in the National League with chalk and cheese. I mean, you look at Kyle Bickley in the National League and he's a different rider. He's a standout man. Without being blunt, he had balls the size of, grapefruits. And I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to say that.
You are indeed.
But, he was just, he would go outside, he would go inside, and in the championship, he looked destroyed. His confidence he didn't look the same rider, and these were the same level of riders that he was riding against in both leagues, and he just puzzling because he's got talent, he's got the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre.
Mike, yeah, I get what you're saying. Mike, is it possible to reconcile this whole idea that the the club are saying that we've talked to him about confidence, and he's saying no, I've got plenty of confidence, but maybe the club have seen it from a different point of view, and Kyle doesn't want to obviously say I've lost confidence. That's probably the last thing he would want to say, isn't it?
Riders don't necessarily even recognise themselves, I don't think, when they lose confidence. But you can see it in their riding sometimes. I haven't seen enough of Kyle recently to know whether he looks as though he's lost confidence. He's actually done okay at Armadale. He's guested for us a couple of times and done a good job. And he was very good in the National Development League visit by the Bullets. But then, of course, that's what they were saying. He's been doing better at that level than he has at the Championship level. But I still think he's quite a useful rider, even currently in the Championship. But obviously, they were keen to get this lad Knudsen in, and spotting that he scored 9 in the first under-21 Grand Prix, well, that's impressive. So that might be the man that can change the season for Berwick. And Nathan Stoneman's not a bad reserve as well, really. Yeah. So I think the fans expect changes when the team look like they're not going to make the playoffs. And obviously the promotion have decided to give them it. But it's always tough on the guys that drop out, of course. So I feel great sympathy for anyone that loses their place in that sort of way.
Yeah, I was trying to get sort of sort of feelings and thoughts from various people today. I'm always reminded, and I'm sure Sarah, you remember Dave Fairburn saying this, that every time he or Berwick Bandits lost a meeting, this is in the Barrington Loft days, if he lost a meeting at home, his attendance would be 500 less the next day, the next meeting. Is that something that is still considered, thou shalt not do, lose at home?
It's a hard one. I mean, I've been going since the Barrington Loft days, and sometimes home losses, very, very hard to take. I mean, the red car one was particularly painful, I think, this year, because, we lost, I think it was the man of which we lost, because Alexander, off you go. I think losing Jaya sort of set the tone for the night, it was like, when you look at the form he'd had, I don't know, it's been hard, because this year I genuinely thought it was going to be different. We had a team on paper that you thought, my God, this is a team that can actually do something, and 3 home losses in a row, it's been like, it's been painful, but like Mike's been through horror years at Armadale, it doesn't stop you going. They're still our team, and a true supporter will stick through them.
Yeah, I mean, as a general sort of observation, Mike, I've noticed this year that some of the reserves out there in the Championship, they're also riding really well in the the Elite League, or whatever we call it, the Premiership. You look at some of the reserves this time round. There seems to be some very strong ones out there, doesn't there?
Well, it certainly makes a huge difference. We've got Jason Edwards there at the moment. His average is still under 4, and yet he scored 15, paid 15 from his first 5 rides, guesting for Leicester yesterday, and he's scored double figures twice for us. Things get a bit out of control when you get a guest of that standard, and it unbalances the matches. But yeah, indeed, that having very strong reserves makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and that was always the case with us, wasn't it, Sarah? That at the start of the season, we said, well, we'll always have that strength in depth, because if with Jai and Kyle, obviously, if somebody needs to drop down, it's going to be one of the top 5 dropping down, and that was always going to be great. But obviously, it is, as you say, the injuries that is the seem to be the problem there. So anyway, you touched on the fact that we've got this new Danish rider, and did he not win the 250 championship? What exactly, sorry, is SGP2?
I think it's just the rename to the World Under 21.
Right. I'm with you. Right, because I know about Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3, but it's not like it's as you say, it's the under 21s.
It's difficult to judge how strong it is, because you get some very strong riders at the top, and you get some quite weak riders at the bottom. So it's hard to say. A rider scoring 9 sounds pretty good, and it probably is, but 3 or 4 or 5 of these points might have been quite easy.
Do you know, that's what I was saying to you, wasn't it, Mike? That as they say, there's lies, there's damn lies in statistics, and these averages are, they're sometimes completely bogus, aren't they? I mean, as you were saying about Jason Edwards there, he's on a 4-point average, but clearly he's a lot better than that.
Well, we had him last year and we wanted to hang on to him, but unfortunately,
Yeah,
geographically, we were disadvantaged when we were talking to him.
yeah. I mean, Sarah, at the end of last season, Casper Anderson was going like an express train, and I'm just wondering if he wishes he'd stuck with Berwick, or he's been given the chance to join us. But apparently, Redcar were desperate to get him back. Was that right?
Apparently so. But,
Yeah.
There's been the odd meeting or two. You thought maybe he should have just stuck around with us, but he made his choice. And to be fair, he's picked up, and fair play to him, because I personally couldn't begrudge him any success for the effort he put in with us last season. Just fair play to the lad. Lovely young lad.
Yep.
He certainly got double figures at Armadale last year. Casper Anderson, that was terrific. And when he visited with Redcar this year, he wasn't very good at all. So you might be right, a bandit. He should have stayed.
Well, I would have liked him that, but there was a few performances away last season. He was the star of the show. Yeah. He just got you excited.
He made the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we were on a hiding to nothing against Glasgow, and it was him that was coming in, taking not tactical reserve replacement rides, to try and keep us in the hunt, as it were, But so what about I've seen comments with regards to Kyle Bickley. Maybe he could go to Newcastle, because according to one commentator, I said, well, who's he going to replace? And he said, any of them. and then you've also got people. Apparently, James Sargent is struggling with an injury at the moment.
Well, we're Mike, not quite sure when James might. We've got both James Sargent and Lassie Frederickson out injured.
Right.
We've obviously spoken to them about their injuries. They don't seem to be getting very precise diagnoses of what's actually wrong with them. So certainly, until we do, we probably wouldn't be able to make any great moves. But we'd like to know when they're going to be back. And who knows?
I mean, I was speaking to you earlier, wasn't I, Mike, about the fact that everything was doom and gloom when Glasgow went there and to Armadale and won. And I remember saying to Dave Harley that night, I said, I've been watching, we've been watching, haven't we, from Berwick. We've been watching Glasgow, Edinburgh go like the absolute clappers at one another. And it would not be in the slightest bit of a surprise if Edinburgh then went to Glasgow and won, which they very, very nearly did, and they've dumped them out the cup. So, Edinburgh have turned their season around quite dramatically, haven't they, Mike?
Well, I would certainly say I was surprised. You might not have been surprised, but I was, when we managed a 46-44 at Glasgow and then knocked them out the cup, including going to Glasgow without Josh and Sam for the second leg and still knocking them out the cup. I'm still pretty stunned by that, I'd have to say. But
Sedgman enjoyed that.
Glasgow fans don't like us jumping up and down when we beat them, but it's a compliment to them, really. We didn't expect that, so obviously we're going to be very happy that we've done that.
You still have a wee jig around the garden in delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, Sarah, I'm sure you're the same as me. Reminiscing last week on the fours in 2012 with Lee and Seb and Ricky, and I'm hoping to pop in and see Ricky on the way down to. I'm going to go down to the Birmingham game, and then I'm going to meeting, then go down. I've got a wedding to go to, so that should be good fun, But. The other interesting bit of news, Mike, is that that Oxford, who, rather than getting Mr. Stoneman. Sorry, I'm getting confused with Harry Stoneham. They've actually managed to drag a former Monarch legend and former Berwick skipper. Am I right in saying that, Sarah? Yeah. Aaron Spud Summers has come out of retirement. Is it for Jack Thomas? Have I got the name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Jack Thomas has been going very well, so they obviously were struggling when they lost him. I never saw that coming, I must say. I don't know whether Sarah had heard anything, but
I'd heard it on the grapevine.
Yeah, okay.
But I'd heard more that it was Newcastle who were trying to entice him.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I know
it would have probably been greater, I should think, but there we go.
But no, it's a funny one. I think a fully motivated Spud Summers can, sadly for the teams below them, could be the one thing that gets Oxford into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because Spud on his day can put in a solid 8 to 10 points anyway, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
It depends how committed he is, I think, doesn't it? When he's really committed, he's tremendous. And
absolutely.
I think towards the end of his career previously, he let things slide a wee bit, didn't he? He wasn't going very well for the Bandits last year.
To be fair, I think he had a lot on his mind. I think he's had personal circumstances. He was getting ready for his wedding to Emma. That he just had his little girl, so I think it was a culmination of everything. And you can't begrudge him. He went out safe. That was the main thing. He wasn't going out on the back of an injury. He went out on his choice. So the fact that he's come back on his choice, he's still young. He's still very, very fit, and I think he'll do a very good job for Oxford.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I was going to ask, sir, what age is Aaron?
I think he's about my age. I'm 34. So I think he wasn't too much younger than me.
Right,
33, 34, Mike, was he about that?
I think he might have been born in 1980, which would make him 32, would it? I might be wrong there.
Yeah, he's round about my age, so close to it. But,
he certainly joined us way back in 2007 when he was only... I got my arithmetic wrong. It's not 1980, is it? It's something later.
1990, yeah.
I don't.
Right, yeah.
But he first rode for us in 2007. I know that. He did a few matches that year and then went back home and then joined us properly the following year. And he was terrific.
We've got. I don't know if I don't think it comes up for either Sarah or Mike, but there's a live chat. People can once they log in via YouTube, they can actually ask questions. So can I pop some of them up for you, because you might find some of these interesting. Ashton Barker. Would you like to comment on that one, Sarah? I mean, look, there's been riders that have ridden for Rye House Rockets that I've admired as well. It's.
Luckily, I know Ashton. So Ashton, okay, that's all I'll say. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to engage my brain before thinking. No, I still get a lot of stick because my husband was a Rye House fan.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but Paul, you've seen him now. He wears Berwick colours. He's transitioned nicely since he moved up here.
Do you know? When I first started following Speedway in '88. What happened? I think I've told this story before. I'll keep it as brief as possible. My wife at the time, first wife, Sonia, said, you go to Eatle Village to teach. I want you to find out where the Berwick Speedway is because it's nearby. So the next Friday, I spoke to some of the pupils and they said, yeah, it's the other side of Duddo. It's dead easy to get to. So I came back and said, right then, Sonia, I know where it is. You can go there anytime. It's dead easy. No, you're taking us. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm no interest whatsoever in a bunch of bikers meeting in a field. and so eventually I got dragged along. I didn't have any choice in the matter. And to be honest, Mike, when we first started following the Speedway, my wife Sonia is from Leicester, and her brother Andy from Leicester. They used to go and follow Leicester when they were at the old stadium in Beaumont Leys, Blackbird Lane, I think it was called. And they remember, and they remember Les Collins, Dave Blackburn, Steve Reslin, Colin Cook, Mark Courtney riding for them. And so when we went to Berwick the first time and they saw that it was the kid, it's like, wow, is that really the same Mark Courtney that we saw as a kid when we were youngsters, Sure enough. But then it was Les Collins was riding for Edinburgh. And I once said to them, I said, so who actually do we support then? Because we're going to Berwick Edinburgh on the Friday, Berwick on the Saturday. Who do we support? And he said, "Oh, Berwick." But the business about being a fan of other teams. I think are we not all fans of Speedway, and we can just enjoy that, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, but you're going to favour your own team, obviously, within that. I think Speedway fans like general Speedway more than, say, football fans do. Football fans really do follow their own team only.
Yeah.
Speedway fans will watch a match between two other teams and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I was having this conversation with James and Marty as well about they were saying, "Are you going to the Grand Prix?" I said, "I've never been to the Grand Prix. I really don't find that stuff very interesting. It's individual riders against one another. Give me team sport anytime." But But anyway, we've got another question that Lewis Balfour has put up, and I will let you have a stab at this one, because this is from an Oxford point of view. Will Nichols and Batchelor see a rapid improvement in form, particularly the latter? Nichols still scoring well. I mean, sorry, Mike.
I've noticed that Scott Nichols hasn't actually had quite such a good season this year. He's 44 now, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's by any means anything other than a very strong heat leader, and Armadale, of course, is sensational. But there might be a slight easing off in his scoring, shall we say. I know Peterborough were getting hammered again tonight at home, so.
Right.
And Batchelor, well, he's, to my mind, not as good a rider as Scott Nichols, but he's younger, of course, so. I don't know if he'll improve, will he? I wouldn't have thought so.
I was going to say, I thought Troy Batchelor. I've watched him riding for Swindon, because that's my other team, because I'm originally from Cheltenham, and I've seen him riding for Swindon, and he was absolutely fantastic around the big Blunsdon Arena. But I don't know, maybe he struggles on some of the other tracks. But I mean, in general, obviously we're very pleased to see Oxford back, and interesting, isn't it, that the two Courtney brothers. One has got Berwick and one has got Oxford.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, really.
Isn't it just? I mean, isn't it interesting that a Berwick rider, Aaron, comes out of retirement and goes to Oxford? I can imagine that the negotiations there were somewhat eased by the fact that the promotions know each other. What I also found, as you say, very interesting was the fact that Berwick paid tribute to Glasgow for helping them to get, I got his name right, Jonas Knudsen.
Knudsen, I think, isn't it?
Knudsen, yeah, as in Tommy Knudsen, but no relation. It's not his great grandson or anything like that. No. I mean, is that sort of degree of helpfulness? Is that normal amongst the promotions?
Probably not.
All right.
I think Mike might think there's something sinister. Glasgow may be going to try and poach him if it works out well.
I've no idea what's happened in this particular case, but I dare say it might have come through Ben Basso or Ostergaard, maybe, that this guy wanted to come over. Glasgow obviously don't have space for him.
I think he's friends with Leon as well at Reading.
Yeah.
He's friends with Leon.
Yeah.
I think it could be a really good move, definitely for Berwick.
Well, if they get to keep him, I mean, when I met Chris Harris 2 weeks ago, you remember when he was giving out hats?
Yep.
Well, I spent all Saturday morning and afternoon trying to beg, borrow, or steal a little kid that I could have brought along with me. And my daughter was doing the same. But I actually said to him, because I got a chance to get a selfie, I said, come on, Chris. Any chance of keeping you here till next year as well? He said, "Oh, just wait and see. nothing's decided yet, But I don't know, Mike. Trying to when these teams are put together at the beginning of the season, the whole point of having a points limit is that you're supposed to end up with a situation where, for example, in '88, the Hackney Kestrels put a team together that was the lowest average of any in the league, and yet they end up winning the league. And you get Rye House, for example. I think one year they finished bottom, and the next year they won the league, didn't they? The whole idea of this is to try and make an even playing field, but I'm not convinced that it is at the moment. When you see the strength of like Sir Glasgow and Leicester and Poole,
they're obviously going to get the pick of the riders, which means the riders that are going to improve their average the most. Most fans have a reasonable idea of which riders are likely to increase their average, and the team with the most money probably is going to have the best chance of getting at these sorts of riders.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one or two teams this year as well who've selected riders who are on averages that are well above what their current scoring is.
Sure.
But some of these riders have dropped out with long-term injuries, which gives them a strong guest facility. It's not really satisfactory from anybody's point of view, that.
Definitely.
We've got another comment here from Scott A. Sid. My dad, Charlie, was more of a Speedway fan. Despite sporting Edinburgh, he would prefer a 46-44 win to the Monarchs. His brother John could watch the Monarchs 20 points ahead, and he'd want more.
I know Charlie and John.
Yeah.
Charlie's not with us now, unfortunately. And I know Scotia Sid as well. I did a lot of travelling with Charlie. He was definitely a Speedway fan. He was a George Hunter fan, in actual fact.
Right.
Yeah, I think as long as it is a 46-44 win and not a 46-44 loss, I think most people would prefer a narrow win and a good match. John's a good Speedway fan as well, though, I know that.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I'm one of these that when I tried to sort of gauge the opinion earlier today of people, and I was suggesting, have the fans really been critical of the promotion at Berwick for the losses? I'm surely not. I mean, the entertainment that we've been provided, not just by Chris Harris, but obviously, we've got so
the Bullets as well.
Exactly. But also, you've got that video of Kyle passing Craig Cook. You've got Leon doing absolutely wonders, with Theo, and then doing that blinking handshake at the end, which was very reminiscent of Greg Blair and Andy Silver when he was riding for High House. Yeah. It's so
you get don't you, that will look for changes at a very early stage if they think the team's not as strong as they want it to be. It's become a common thing in Speedway now that fans want changes. And it makes it very difficult for both the promotion and the riders, I think.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair though, Mike, I think in the case of Edinburgh, and I say that as quite a jealous Berwick fan here, I think it's because you've become accustomed to the success, sadly, and we haven't,
We did go through, obviously, a very successful period. I think our fans are slightly getting more used to not winning things now, which in a way makes it a little bit easier. And I think also what people like to see is a team that is improving. And we've got riders like Lassie Fredrickson and Jacob Hook in our team who are getting better week on week. So that's a substitute for having a real powerhouse team, I think.
Yeah. But Mike,
many complaints.
But Mike, I remember having this conversation with you about the fact that we're now benefiting, or at least once he returns, benefiting from Jai Etheridge, who was I think it was the Monarchs that first brought him over, and then thought that he wasn't going to make it. But given the benefit of hindsight, a bit more patience. I mean, I presume we can sympathise with Kyle on the point of view that could he have been shown a bit more patience?
Well, I think they were desperate to get the Danish rider in.
Yes.
And I don't think they would have dropped Kyle singly.
No.
They wouldn't have just
No.
changed him for Nathan Stoneman. They wouldn't have done that.
No.
But they had to do it in order to bring in Knudsen. So I think that's why they've done it.
Yeah.
Going back to Jai, though, for a second.
Sure.
Dick Barry loves this change because Jai obviously didn't do all that well for Edinburgh, and he's blossomed with Berwick, so Dick Barry loves talking about it. Jai is much better suited to Berwick, there's no doubt about that. He still hasn't got a very good record at Edinburgh, and he was struggling quite badly. At the time, I thought it was just a change of track that made the difference, but subsequently, although he didn't say it at the time, Jai has said he simply didn't have the right engines to do the job when he first came over.
Well, I've discovered that there are three types of engines. There's the Jawa, the GM, and there's this special one that Jai has lent to Greg Blair, and it's called an FAF. Fast and Furious.
Yeah, okay.
Have you heard about this?
I thought you were going to say something else, but no.
I was not gonna say something like that. No. Now hold on a sec. There's a question, and I've just realised what the question is. Where's Shaders? Who's Shaders?
Shadows. My husband.
Shadows.
That's his
Yeah.
nickname.
That's where the Carambulis thing comes from.
Yeah.
Yes, tell Ashton he's downstairs with my children.
Is he not putting it to bed yet?
Well, I'm sitting in our bedroom right now, so I think he's letting
right.
them watch Paw Patrol downstairs right now. So.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Listen, as I say, I didn't want to keep you on very long, and please, although this is just a short visit today, just to help, just talk a little bit about the latest developments. I'm going to let you guys go and have you on again on a full length with some riders that we can have a chat with at a future point. I mean, can I just sort of get you sort of how can I put I think of it like this. There's a certain sadness in me that whilst Berwick are trying to do the best they can, that Kyle has been, sort of, he must be feeling a bit upset about being, removed from the Bandits team. But it's really it's nobody at fault. It's just the nature of the of Speedway that these things seem to happen. I don't know, with teams with a certain amount of regularity. Would that be fair, Mike? Sarah?
Well, I'm surprised, and I don't like the fact that Speedway teams can just chuck riders out. Riders might have spent thousands and thousands of pounds getting their machinery sorted for the season, and this applies to all team changes, really. I think that the rider going out should be financially compensated till he gets a new team. I've said that before.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That wouldn't go down well with the promoters, of course, but it might actually put a stop to all these changes that happen willy-nilly during the season. And it would be fairer.
Yeah.
It won't happen.
So basically, if they sign a contract to ride for a team for a season, if they renege on that, then that would be.
It seems to me obvious that a contract should work both ways, and the rider can't just walk out on the team, and the team shouldn't be allowed to just dump the rider. That's always been my opinion.
Sure. Even
though we've done it ourselves as well, of course.
Well, I think though you were saying that you also benefited from when Sam Masters first came across. He didn't make the grade at one of the tracks that he was at.
Well, look, we had three riders in a row, namely Ryan Fisher, Craig Cook, and Sam Masters, who all were thrown out by their previous teams.
Wow!
And I think to some extent it was due to being hard to handle in their opinion.
Sure.
I would say we actively like riders that are hard to handle because they're likely to be guys with spirit. Mm-hmm. And as you would no doubt agree, all these three guys did fantastic things for us. So we're happy to take on people like that. If there's any more stars that are hard to handle, we'll have them.
I was going to say, Ryan Fisher, he was at Coventry, was he?
Yes, his previous team was actually Bellevue, but he was originally a Coventry rider, yeah.
And Craig Cook was obviously Workington, but
yeah.
Was Sam Masters, was he down somewhere like Kings
He
Lynn?
was at Somerset and Poole.
Right. Yeah.
And Somerset told me he was difficult to handle.
Wow.
Which I would say has been one of the easiest guys to get on with that I've ever known in a Monarchs team. And a superb leader.
That is bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is.
Definitely, just I won't comment on Ryan Fisher because I think I wasn't a big fan of him. He was Mike's laughing because I'm sure he knows. Mr. Fisher would often ride on the very, very hard side. But I think deep down, I think we hated him because we wanted him on our team at that time. He would, he'd go anywhere and he'd embarrass you by how good he was.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just one of them riders. But no, to be fair, Edinburgh seemed to have an issue of pulling out someone special all the time. And what they got out of Craig Cook, I think it was 2014 and 2015, Mike, wasn't it? Where he was hitting 10
he did 5 seasons with us, and he won everything really, and he was the inspiration behind our successful team without question. Yeah.
But no, again, it was frustrating having him as a Monarch because again, you hated how good he was. And you just wanted him to actually be your number one rider.
Well, to think that he actually came from Workington, and Workington got rid of him. If I was a Workington fan, I wouldn't be happy about that when he came back and scored a maximum.
I know.
Yeah. That's my worry with Kyle that he'll get loads of guest bookings to come to Shielfield, and have the opportunity to show us exactly how well he can ride Shielfield. Just before we let you go, there's a couple of more questions popped up in the chat. I'll share with you. Here we go. Well, that's an interesting one, and we've just had Graham McCleary, the cameraman. So are the Bandits riding this week, Sarah?
No, I think it's a standalone National League. It's Mildenhall.
Yes, exactly. And Mildenhall, do they still have Jason Edwards as their number one?
I thought it was Ryan.
They do, yeah. But I don't think he'll be riding on Friday because... are they at Saturday? Berwick and Saturday?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sorry, beg your pardon. They're also at Armadale on Friday.
That could be interesting. Yeah. But I mean, fair play. If Kyle goes out and scores a maximum on Saturday against Jason Edwards, as a means of saying to the management, you've made the wrong decision, then what they've done is they've got the maximum out of him. But anyway, there's another question here. I think this is a. Now, Mike, you knew how to pronounce this name. Scotia, did you say?
Scotia said again. That's
Scotia said. Yeah.
I think he's agreeing with me, is he?
Yeah. If a rider gets a 28 ban for leaving a club, only fair if a club pays a dropped rider for 28 days too, unless signed sooner. I suppose the only problem there is that, I presume that riders are paid on the amount of points that they score per meeting. It's not like they're on a weekly wage, is it?
But my idea was that they should be paid according to their average.
Yeah.
They've got a 7-point average, then every time their team has a match after they've been dropped, they should get paid for 7 points.
Sure.
I know it's a pipe dream that the promoters would ever bring in a rule like that. They definitely wouldn't.
No. It's we're not wealthy like the Polish leagues. That's and I want to get on and talk at some point in the future about where where did it all go wrong? When I started following '88, nobody had ever heard of Polish league. It was just a little column in the Speedway Star, wasn't it? The same with the Denmark and the Swedish results, and yet now it's quite bizarre. So here's a question from Graham, and I presume that's to you, Mike.
Yes, Craig Cook is still an Edinburgh asset.
Wow. So he might come back soon then.
Well, he gets very well paid by Glasgow, I'm sure. And not that I'm party to the details of his contract, but I don't think there's any doubt that he does.
Sure. Earlier today, I did a wee video about various things, and it was Marty Clyde's favourite riders that he would have loved seeing riding for Berwick. But I'm sure that Shane Parker, when he dropped down to join Kings Lynn, when Kings Lynn moved into the second division, am I right there, Sarah? He came to Berwick, and I think they had like the three heat leaders, nothing else, but with the three heat leaders, it was just enough to scrape a win for them, wasn't it? And then the next season he went.
As well, and someone else.
Yeah, can't remember who. You should say Thomas Topinka, Shane Parker. It couldn't have been Kevin Doolan, was it?
I was going to say that, Kevin Doolan, maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, because he did ride for Kingsland for a while, didn't he? He went from Berwick to Glasgow, Workington, and Kingsland Midwich for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. And the the thing is, he then went to Glasgow, and I heard that this was way back. What we're talking about, early 2000s. The talk at the time was that he was on something like £100 or £90 per point per meeting, which equates to about £1,400 a meeting if you get to 15-point maximum. And nobody begrudged that sort of money, but I mean, is that the sort of money that most teams in the championship would be looking to pay?
I think for the sort of established, well, I don't know what Edinburgh pay, maybe Mike has more, but for an established, for what the level he was at, that was probably about right, I would have said.
Yeah.
I think £100 a point's a wee bit on the high side still, but it won't be that far away from it, and certainly by the time you're paying them for 2 away matches and 1 home match in a week, then that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. And as I say, I don't think anybody begrudges them, do they?
Well, except for the fact that the clubs haven't got it, of course. They may well be worth it, but the clubs don't really have that kind of money.
Yeah.
However, by hook or by crook, we somehow or other find the money if we want to have the good riders.
Yeah, I suppose it's all down to sponsorship, isn't it? It's but it would be good to get Speedway back up and popular. I mean, all these tracks going out of business. I mean, that was again something that Seb mentioned on last week, was that when he first started riding, Sweden had 30 licensed riders, and now he thinks there's about 60 or 70. It shows that they're losing their, their riders and their teams. We in the UK seem to be doing the same. For me, it's obvious, that the solution is we get the Devils, we get the Bullets, to provide us with the teams that are going to be the championship teams of the future. I mean, I've had this conversation with a few people. We've had obviously Leon and Kyle and Greg Blair and Luke Crang ride for the Bandits. Sarah, who would you see as being the next big thing as far as from the Bullets team that's going to become the next Bandit? I mean, there's a name on my tongue that I think Mike is going to also possibly suggest.
Well, I think we're all thinking the same in Piper, aren't we?
Yeah, he's Piper. Yeah.
To be fair, Ace, he's 15 and he's got talent. He's got talent. Yeah. And I don't just say this because Mrs. Piper stands very close to me on the third bend. But you can tell, I think having Theo in the pits, it is a common influence, and Ace is learning on the track, there's times he's going inside, quite like Theo does. He's trying outside. I think Ace's problem is just at the start. He is quite clutch happy, but again, he's 15, he's in his first season of 500cc. He will get there, and I think Berwick really need to nurture him and look after him because he will go far, I think.
Sure.
I'm surprised, personally, from where they live, that they didn't go to Edinburgh. Obviously, they have their reasons for not doing that, which is why I think we really need to look after him now and make him a bandit for the future.
Well, yeah.
He's certainly a star of the future without question.
Mm.
Very talented, but very sensible in his riding, I think, and I'm sure Theo will make sure that he proceeds at the best pace for him.
Yeah.
Well,
Lewis, well, for Mike, will we see Kevin Walbert back in the UK again?
I don't know really, but many people would like to see it, of course. They did a great job for us a few years ago. He then, I think, became very successful on the continent and couldn't fit the UK into his schedules. Maybe that isn't so much the case now. So possibly we will, yeah. A very, very capable rider indeed.
Well, I tell you what, if you get Kevin Walbert back to the Monarchs, could you please send David Bellego back to the Bandits?
Yeah,
I would take him back in a second. Wouldn't you, Sarah? Wouldn't you, Sarah?
Well, I would. He was entertaining, but I think that's out of our hands, because I think he's owned by Swindon now, isn't he? Well, if they come back, he's technically still a Swindon asset after they bought him off us.
Right. Well, we bought Seb Alden from Swindon. Why can't we buy him from Swindon?
Possibly.
We'll just have to get a word with John Anderson and see if he'll finance that one for us. And sorry, I've got another question from Graham. Any updates on the Armadale situation and the hunt for a new tracker?
No, that's too big a question. We're obviously thinking about it, but I wouldn't really want to say anything at the moment.
Sure. I mean, it's where do you begin? I mean, I read an article that you'd put in the Edinburgh website. I think it was from about 2010, and it was going to be fantastic. What was going to happen, but clearly things just didn't materialise.
That would be. There was a lady who owned a field, and we came to an arrangement with her, but we were told by traffic people that we would have had to build a roundabout on the road that went by the field, and we're not up to building roundabouts, I'm afraid. It would have cost £500,000 or something, so that was a non-starter. We're currently looking at all the options. That's about all I can tell you. But we have no definite answers.
But Mike, given sort of not an unlimited budget, but what would be your preferred choice? Would it be to be back nearer Edinburgh, where you are now, because of the fan base, and would it be a case of you would prefer somewhere that's already a stadium and say going inside a dog track? Not that there's many dog tracks, I wouldn't have thought, but going to an existing stadium or build something new. What would be your ideal scenario, Mike?
I think for everybody, the preferred option would be A, to be nearer Edinburgh, B, to own our own stadium. But it's all very well saying that. You've got to have the opportunity to do that. You need lots of money and you need a place to do it. Armadale isn't a plush stadium by any means. If we were to stay there, then we'd need to do that up. So there's too many aspects to it.
Sure.
I suppose the phrase "beggars can't be choosers" comes into it. Whatever opportunity presents itself to us, that would probably be the one that we would take, rather than saying what we would like. If we were very, very wealthy, then we'd be able to choose what we really wanted. Or not.
And Sarah, finally, it always makes me a bit sad when I think of the fun that I used to have at Powder Hall. What were your memories of Powder Hall?
I think, to be honest, I can't remember going to Powder Hall, because that would be the early 90s. I think Mum and Dad went there. But
We finished there.
The last, from the 91 season, I can remember going to Bradford.
Yeah.
I was at Oxford for the Gold Cup that night, but I was only in the pram, so I can't remember too much. But Mum and Dad took me. I was there. So So unfortunately, I can't remember our last big title win. But no, I mean, in regards to Armadale, as much as we've hated it, that's going to be a big loss. For the 2 or 3 wins that we've had there, considering our god awful record, it's been memorable. I've made brilliant friends through Edinburgh. It's going to be a sad night saying goodbye to that place when it comes at the end of the season. Very sad.
Yeah.
My sorry, I was going to say my memory of Powder Hall. One of the best ones was, I think it was '88 when Hackney came there and won, but one of their riders fell off and he thumped the track, didn't he? And he broke his hand. Can you remember that, Mike?
No, to be honest, I can't. I remember the match in '88.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who it was that broke his hand. I'm not sure.
It might have been Gary Rolls, because I think his nickname became Tyson after that. of all the things to do, to thump the track because you've just fallen off. But no, I mean, I think Mark Laram there was pretty good as well, wasn't he? That
he was
year.
a track record holder at one time. Yeah, they had Mark, they had Andy Galvin, they had Barry Thomas, a lot of very good riders. Chris Louis, of course, was just starting then.
Yeah, and Moggo.
Moggo was sensational. He was either very good or very bad at Powder Hall, but he was always entertaining.
Yeah,
I remember he picked up a kickboard. He put his footrest through a kickboard, and he went and did the next lap with the kickboard hanging on his bike. Only Moggo could have done that.
Yeah, and I also remember, obviously, Les Collins is one of those riders that I put in that list of riders that I would have liked to have seen in Bandits colours. But can you remember that season that they had where they amalgamated the 2 leagues? And was it not, you had an American called Bobby Ott? Have I got that right?
Yeah, Mike Ferrier we had.
Right. Yeah.
Bobby Ott did guest for us once, I think. But
is that what it was? I remember seeing him there.
He was very good at Powder Hall, Bobby Ott. Yeah. But Ferrier was the one that belonged to us. Yeah.
Right. And where did he come? Was he Wolverhampton or something?
He'd been Bellevue before.
Right. Okay.
He did 2 seasons with us. He did the last season at Powder Hall, and he did the 1 season we had at Shawfield, and he was terrific in those 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But that was it. We didn't see him anymore.
Oh, hold on a sec. We've got some more comments, and I think I must agree with Graham. I would say mine is the county ground Exeter. Powder Hall.
Graham's dad was the announcer at Powder Hall when it first started, of course.
Right.
As he was for many years with you as well. And does he still do some of the meetings at Berwick? He doesn't always do them, does he, Dennis?
No.
Sorry, Mike. I thought you said bouncer, and I realised you meant you said announcer, and I picked you up wrong there.
I don't think Dennis would ever be a bouncer.
No, that's what I was thinking. Sorry, announcer. Yes, I picked you up completely wrong there. I just loved it. The fact that it was there was like so many bars, and there was areas undercover you could go, and glass frontages and all that, and it was just I seem to remember quite narrow, quite tight bends and quite long straights, if I remember rightly. Let me see. And right, I'm going to see if I can get Scotia Sid.
Yeah.
Have I got it right? Scotia Sid.
Scotia meaning Scotland.
Yes.
His name isn't Sid, but I'll not tell you what his name is.
No.
Les Collins in the '94 Cup final passed Mick Powell and Robert Nage on the last bend. He was lying third going into the last bend, and he won the race. That's what he's talking about there. Scotland beat Lee Adams, and he had a tremendous race with Peter Carlson and Sam Ermolenko. He actually finished second. I think it was Carlson that won the race. That was a great race as well. Yeah.
Actually, I do have one other great memory of Powder Hall, and that was going for another. It was one of these like the National League versus an Australian select. It was a filthy wet night, And Mark Courtney and Dave Blackburn were there along with a load of stars. And the guy that really sort of rolled his sleeves up and had a go was actually Sean Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a right battle with, I think it was Todd Wiltshire. And I'm sure to this day they probably don't send each other Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Can you remember that one, Mike?
I can. The Aussies won by quite a bit, but I think you're
They
right.
did,
Sean had a very good match for the National League or Great Britain or whatever they were calling themselves. Yeah.
Anyway, I did say I was going to shut up. 25 minutes ago? I am going to shut up and give Mike and Sarah the last words. So it's good night from me, and Mike, Sarah, take it away.
Good night from me, and nice to see you again, Sarah.
And you, Mike, and hopefully we'll see a good crowd this Saturday for the Bullets against Milton Hall.
Indeed. Cheers.
Thank you.